It's a very genuine question. You see, what is the mind doing? Look at it very simply. There is music, and instead of being with the music, the mind has another thought, some other thought. Now, two things are possible at this stage. One, I already have three thoughts in my mind, and I generate a fourth thought which says how to get rid of the three thoughts. And remember, thought cannot get rid of thought. All thought is fundamentally the same. Mental activity. More mental activity cannot stop mental activity. More mental activity cannot stop mental activity. You are already thinking of three things, and now a fourth thing comes to your mind. Mental activity has increased, not decreased. Thoughts have grown. Mind has not become more calm. A realization is sufficient. What kind of realization? That here is the music and here is this mind somewhere else. And that realization is always there. It is not that we do not know that my mind is wandering. It is just that we are in the illusion that there is pleasure in wandering, that there is some happiness in wandering. That is the only reason why you wander. Otherwise, there is no cause for wandering. Get rid of that illusion. You have trained yourself to wander. You have trained yourself that illusion is happiness. It's just a training, and every training is a mental pattern. Do not entertain thoughts of how to. At the most, have a reminder that can shock you. And shocking you is bringing you away from thoughts. A shock is an instantaneous thing. It does not remain with you as a thought. Have something that can shock you up. There are some people who like to have external reminders. They would have something written upon a wall. Some kind of an alarm bell. But far better than an external reminder is a vigilant mind itself. That can just remind itself at the right time. Oh, you are wandering again. And the mind knows. Have faith in your mind. It knows that it is wandering. None of us are so completely deluded that we don't even know what we are doing. We always know what we are doing. Whatever happens, happens out of our consent. Stop giving that consent. It's not difficult. Stop giving that consent. That consent is just a pattern that you have created for yourself. You can stop giving that consent that moment you want to stop it. Right now you don't want to stop it because you think that there is some benefit for you in giving that consent. As we said, some pleasure, some happiness. Inquire into it. Do you really benefit out of wandering mind? Does a distracted, disturbed mind really benefit you? Inquire, ask yourself, what have I gained out of all this? I lost out on the music. Now the music is lost. Gone. What did I actually gain? And when you will keep up with this inquiry, and the mind itself is inquiring. I said have faith in the power of the mind. The mind is itself inquiring. When this inquiry will continue, then you will find that the mind has less and less incentive in being here and there. Let this inquiry be very rigorous. All my life, all these long years, this has been restless. What has this restlessness given me? I have never been able to sit still. I have always been walking randomly, running here and there. What has this given me? Ask. Confront the truth of this stupidity. And once you have seen the foolishness of wandering, then the mind will not be able to tell itself that wandering is beautiful. Right now, the mind tells you that there is something good about wandering. And you are prepared to argue that. Many of us might still be firmly holding on to the belief that dreams are wonderful, ambitions are great, and all of these are nothing but restlessness of the mind. You need to ask yourself. I'm not saying listen to me, I'm saying you need to ask yourself. What is the truth of these dreams? And nothing makes the mind wander as much as dreams. You need to ask yourself. What is meant by going forward? What is meant by progress in life? These are the things that the mind is occupied with. What is meant by achievement? What is meant by pleasure? And the mind is continuously searching for pleasure, is it not? Continuously it wants pleasure. All kinds of pleasure. Ask yourself, what is all this? What is happening? What is happening? Let the obvious truth come to you, and then, as we said, the mind will have less and less incentive to be loose, to be untethered. Accept this, first of all, that for the mind, it is not a problem that it roams about. If you ask the mind that you roam about so much, is that a disease? Is that a problem? The mind will say, no, it is not a problem, it is a pleasure. Right? That's what the mind will say. I feel bored, I start roaming. I feel restless, I feel miserable, I start wandering. So wandering is pleasure. Right now you may be saying that it is a problem, but what does the mind say? That it is a pleasure, and there is such great pleasure for the mind. Is that not so? You have to first tell the mind and convince it that it is not a pleasure, that it is foolhardy. Till the time there is a sense of pleasure, you will not be able to stop the mind. Mind is a pleasure seeker. You have to investigate the truth of that pleasure. What is this pleasure thing? Can there be pleasure without sorrow? Can there be pleasure without depending on anybody? Can there be continuous pleasure? Do pleasure and freedom go together? Is pleasure an act of intelligence, or is it always influenced from somebody? You have to ask this to yourself. Your own life will give you the answer. And when the answer comes straight from your life, then the mind will not be able to deny the answer. It will have to accept. And then its tendency, the habit, will not carry that force. Right?